And it's recording now. Perfect. Welcome to
Wonderful.
Bart.
Wonderful. Hi, Tim. Good to see you.
Hello, good to see you as well. Yeah, in short, I kind of asked you for this little interview, this recording itself, to discuss some of the topics that we spoke about last time.
Right.
And I like to keep it playful and just open, have an interview, have
Wonderful.
a conversation, and then
Yeah.
let's
Yeah.
see.
Yeah.
And we just now started talking about managing the time and managing money, basically, and what's the worth of time, especially time. Um, and I'm kind of in the reframe about what I'm handling with my time because my goal is freedom, and I don't really manage my time, but I manage my actions, what I do within that time.
That's the only thing you can do.
Yeah,
You can, time cannot be managed. You only can manage your priorities. And
yes,
actually, priorities is a misnomer. There is just one thing that is most important, and that's your
yes,
priority, right?
yes. So
Yeah.
that's right now, this focus on this moment.
Yeah.
The rest doesn't really exist at this moment.
No, and it's only distracting and takes away your energy.
Yes.
There was also one thing I picked up in Tallinn in one of the talks from this jujitsu world 7-time world champion and also billionaire or whatever. He gave a talk there and he said actually it's way easier to go all in with 100% focus than 99 or 98, because you always have that in your mind. Should I do it? Should I not do it? If you're all in, all these thoughts go away, and
Yes.
then it becomes so much easier. Yeah.
Yes. Then you're so fully in the present, and then magnificent things are actually happening
Right.
because you're so full in all of the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's my reframe as because a lot of people, especially in the Western world, are still stuck in the time management trap.
Right.
As
Yeah.
in between 7 and 8, I have to do that. Between 8 and 9, you have to do that. And the downside of that is that your calendar will be your prison guard.
Yeah.
And I kind of reframe that as in no, you're not really stuck in the time trap, but you're just managing your actions
Right.
in such a way that you're in full control of your actions, so you can be fully here with your priority now. Then you don't feel overwhelmed anymore. 'Cause
Yeah.
everything is taken care of.
Yeah. And it's like even more when you manage your day based on the to-do list and calendar. It's also like very often driven by external factors, so other people's priority you do for them but not your own. So
Yes.
it's really good to have a plan beforehand what you try to accomplish, and then look at the things that have the most impact first. So like we all know that, do the most important things first, right? But nevertheless it's
Well,
still hard um, to stick to that, because the urgent things, they come creeping up.
yeah, and the thing is as well, because what I use is I have a section where I have my maybe actions and my must do actions.
Right.
So my must do actions are paying the bill, for example. That are must do's.
Right.
But my maybes is starting a new quest, having, I don't know, new clients, creating something, writing something. That's my
Right.
maybe list. So with that distinction between the must do and then my maybe action, I don't actually put value on my actions. I'm just in control over my actions.
Yeah, nevertheless you will start, I guess, from a longer term plan where you say, okay, within the next 12 months I want to accomplish that goal financially, for example, right? And then you go backwards and break that down, what needs to happen within the next 6 months or the next 3 months and the next month. So you then should have a list of high impact or value actions, like um, uh, doing an ad campaign or talking to clients to bring in business. And then this is like really important. It's not that urgent today, but it will become down the road. So this is like high impact, high value, and you need to factor that in, that you will actually do the task to get where you want to go, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And my reframe about it is, if your goal is to be in a certain place in a year, then you have to do certain actions beneath that.
Right.
So the thing is, it's not really a value of it. It's very important in your life. Your goal itself is very important because
Right.
that's something that you agreed upon yourself. But to achieve that goal, you need to do other actions.
Right.
So those actions are musts.
Okay.
And then extracting the value from it. Because the downside is, what if you have 10 actions and the top 5 are most important, and then the other 5 are like, it's okay. Then
Sure.
you'll actually forget about those lower 5s and only focus on those 5s.
Yeah.
But my statement is, be in full control over your full 10 actions. So that makes sure that you don't feel that loose end inside of your head.
Right.
As in, yeah, but there's still so much to do. There's still so much to do.
Sure.
And I was stuck in that position for such a long
Mm.
time. That constant feeling of overwhelm, and there's still something somewhere all of the time.
Right. So the way I dealt with that, and I took this class, the Life Hack Boot Camp, where they would teach us techniques how to deal with that. So one is like setting like a champagne moment for the week, where you say, I need to knock off this one thing for the week. Then I would open a bottle of champagne, or it doesn't have to be alcohol or whatever, but to celebrate, right?
Yeah,
It's a symbol for celebration. That you say this one thing, and then that can be a bigger thing to accomplish this week. And this has to be accomplished basically by Wednesday, because if you say, I'll do it at the end of the week, then you don't have enough energy anymore to really do the hard thinking and the important stuff. So typically we schedule that on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday in the mornings, where you have the most energy, and knock off your really important goal. And all the other stuff you need to take care of will flow into your day anyway. Another thing to stick to my plan throughout the week was really the introduction of the UUW time. Stands for unplanned, unwanted work. So in the morning, so I would have a plan for the week. You pre-plan the week at the weekend, and you look for things that might go wrong and have countermeasures for these landmines that might come up. And each morning when you go through the emails, and you only check emails like 3 times a day, you go through that, and then you see, oh, something urgent is coming up, which is not in my plan, but I have this 1 or 2 hour at the end of the day, like at 4 p.m. or something, where I have my UUW time. And so I know this will be done at 4 o'clock, and now I can forget about that. So I have a strong adherence to the plan that I've set up beforehand, and all these things coming up and creeping up don't stress me that much anymore, because I have a container for that, and I will do it later. But now I can forget about it, because within 24 hours I will deal with that. So that
How,
was
how do you
extremely helpful.
how do you prevent new things creeping up? Because yeah, what kind of things are you talking about then? Is that a customer being unsatisfied, for example? Is that, what kind of stuff are you talking about?
Um, just like um, everything that is unplanned or unwanted. So, for example, something goes wrong technically. You have to take care of something that went wrong. I don't know. I work with databases, so there might be a bug or an issue coming up that you didn't plan for, or a customer had an issue where you need to help the customer. It's not part of the budget, but he had an issue and you want to help, or an additional requirement coming up, something that you couldn't foresee, but you get a call and you need to take care of that, or you feel obliged. but the whole issue with that is it's in your mind, and you want to do both things at the same time. You know you've planned your work, yet at the same time you feel the obligation to take care of this new thing as well, and that distracts you from your work that you have planned. And by having a
Mm.
deliberate spot where you can put that in, relieves you from the tension, and then you can put that aside feeling good about it because you know you will attend to it later in the day.
Yeah,
That was a big game changer.
and then you reserve some time to actually do that
Yeah, yeah,
session somewhere. Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I do that a little bit different. I use my getting things done methods. So my calendar, my next action someday may be waiting for, and then my time bound actions.
Yeah.
And the goal is to just be in control over all of those actions, because every action can be filtered out in one of those sessions, in one of those categories.
Do you actually work with closed lists?
Uh, what do you mean closed list?
Meaning like you have your to-do list for today, for example, um, and then you don't add to it while you're doing it.
Oh no, I don't. I don't have to-do lists for today, for a
Okay,
specific day, something like that.
okay,
But I just have one master table, basically,
okay.
as in these are all the actions that I need to do in my life, everything.
Right. Okay.
And that consists out of next actions, so actions that I could do right now. Some of the actions may be waiting for and time bound. And whenever I have an hour to spare or 15 minutes somewhere, I can actually
Mm,
go through my next actions, as in, is there something that has to be done today? No. Okay, great. Is there something that I could do right now? What I'm going to prepare myself for the future. So I'm working to the future.
mm,
So that means that I can do work right now, which was meant to do next week or the week after that or the week after that. And then you can actually start, because you're not so limited in time anymore. You're only limited on the actions that has to be done.
right.
And being in full control over your action makes you able to work to the future, or at least do future work right now, if you have that 10
Mm,
minutes, that 15 minutes.
mm,
And that really was a game changer for me, especially now with, well, the AI possibilities are endless.
right.
As in, uh, I actually have my actions. So I started with a verb, as if my personal assistant is going to write it. I don't have a personal assistant yet, but as if. And I write it down for the future version of myself.
Okay.
And if that is make a summary of the CLC, something that I still need to do. And right now I'm like, wow, the AI is coming up. I can just upload the whole thing and it's an action. So upload the whole thing and ask AI to write it down in my
Right.
style, make a summary of this. And I'm like,
It's amazing.
now it's an action that would have taken me a week to
Yeah.
plan.
Yeah.
Now it's like 15 minutes.
Yeah. Crazy.
And focusing your energy towards actions, managing your actions and not your time, actually makes you think about, how can I make this quicker?
Right.
How can I do this more efficiently?
Right.
And that was a massive shift for me to create the freedom of being more in the present here.
Right. Interesting. So one thing that intrigued me and came up in me right now was like, how do you decide when you have done enough for the day that you quit working? I mean, because the lists never end, right? So there is always something. So at what time do we have a fixed time, or do you
No?
say, no, now I feel good? I mean, else you can just keep working until you go to bed, right?
Yeah. Or I don't. Or I don't. In the afternoon, I'm like, oh, I have nothing planned. Let's watch a Netflix movie. It's okay. Because the goal is freedom. The goal is not to work.
Sure.
So
But how do
Um,
you decide that, right? And then sure, I can watch a Netflix movie and still feel bad about watching it, right?
yes.
Because so how do you make the cut and feel good about that? Do you predetermine a specific time or not, or amount of work, or
No, not at all. As in for today, for example, I have three meetings, and that's this one in the afternoon and in the evening. I'm going out with someone, and then I'm going to check my next actions. Is there something that really needs to be done today?
okay?
Is there a deadline somewhere? If it's a no, then it's like, okay, then I'm free. Then everything is taken care of. Because my trip is taken care of, the money is coming in, the course is coming in. Am I still waiting for someone? And then I can start enjoying that hour of Netflix or that walk outside or that exercise. Um, because the goal itself is your own self-development, not the stuff that we're doing. Being, that's the goal.
What do you mean by self-development and then being? I mean, self-development can be a lot of effort and reading and doing stuff as well, right?
True. For me, being is focusing on my emotional and mental state and physical state, by the way, as well. But then, am I feeling happy? Am I feeling great? Am I feeling healthy? So then we come a little bit into that map of consciousness where we spoke about that
Hmm.
last time.
Hmm. Hmm.
As in, am I
So
feeling?
just before we're going there,
Yeah,
I found it so intriguing because now I live, I mean, and for me also, like my values are um, clarity, freedom, impact, and growth, right?
hmm
So these are like my key values. So freedom is a little bit below clarity because I need to see clearly, and but freedom is very high on the list. Um, Nevertheless, now I live like a very free life. I don't have to work, but I keep myself busy by doing so many things. And it's so intriguing that when do you stop and yet feel good about having done enough, right? How do you find
because
that?
your value is not determined on what you're doing.
Sure. But
But
that, okay, that's a
but a
big
lot of
step in
people are
itself. Yeah.
yeah, but a lot of people are actually stuck in that point.
Yeah.
They need to do because then that's the value what they are creating.
Right.
But you in yourself already have so much value in your
Right.
being, in your
Yes.
worth, in everything
Right.
that you don't actually need to do anything.
Right.
That's one of the culture scapes that we're stuck in.
Yeah. That's
We
true.
don't actually need to work 8 hours or 6 hours or 4 hours or
Mm.
24 hours. We don't.
Mm.
We're here to enjoy this physical expression of what we call
Right.
being human.
Yeah. That's true. That's true.
And focusing on that one, as in what do I feel like doing? Well, I feel like going out, have a cup of coffee. Let's go out for the sun. Let's go out to the city. That's the goal. What do you
Right.
feel like doing? Sometimes you have to do stuff because we're kind of stuck in that whole physical something. But life is amazing right now.
Yes.
They're safe. Well, I can't say there are no wars, but it's there's less and less wars.
Yeah.
We have social security, we have financial security, all of these
Yeah.
things. And right now we're on the verge of why are we actually working? Because
Yeah.
most of the stuff that we call work is keeping ourselves busy for the idea of I have to work.
Right.
A lot of stuff actually don't need to be done.
That's true. But we are in a system that demands that.
Well, you're not in that system anymore.
No.
You have enough. You have enough money.
Yes.
So what's for you the reason to keep being busy? Or
That,
when you're watching a
that's
Netflix and actually feeling bad about watching that Netflix?
right. Well, it's like for I guess like self-imposed responsibilities where I promised people stuff that I would do and whatnot, and then I need to do them, right? Um,
Which is true.
but also like as we talk about personal development, so I have so many things that I want to have a look at and do a regular training of reading books, listening to audios, that kind of stuff. And so a little bit here, a little bit there, and then the list gets longer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But um, how to explain it? We can get stuck in the self-development journey, or at least being so overcrowded that you're feeling like FOMO if you're not doing the latest thing and the new quest and the new infrared and the new all of that stuff.
Right.
But the thing is, let go of expectations. You yourself are already so far advanced, so healthy,
Yeah,
so great that you don't actually need all of that stuff.
that's true. Yeah.
So letting go of that expectations that you have to do and focusing on what makes you feel better now, or at least in 10 minutes, comparison
Mm,
to how you are now.
mm,
Is that drinking a glass of water? Is that going for exercise? Is that reading a nice book? Is that going out with a beautiful lady? Is that you can do everything?
mm,
But the thing is, how can you make yourself feel better the next
mm.
time? Because that's actually raising the frequency. If you're
Right.
in that whole frequency map of consciousness, that kind of part.
Right. Yeah, I mean, this is basically what I'm already doing right now. So I'm very concerned, and I know many mechanisms how to feel good and better in every moment. So I'm already quite aware of that. It's just like I want to get even better at like finding the optimal stopping point, whatnot, and so I find it very intriguing. So, and I will give it some thought. What you were saying. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
It it will be also fun because now we recorded this session, of course, and then
Yeah.
listening back to the recording. I don't know if you ever recorded yourself and then listened back to it.
And then you gain insight from what you have said. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
be- because our brain is so magnificent, and especially if you're a little bit into the flow, then
Yeah.
you're like, ah, now I was thinking about that part. Now I was
Yeah.
thinking that part. And while you're recording yourself, you can actually see multiple layers of thinking appear at
Yeah.
that same time.
Yeah.
So actually listening back to yourself and pausing the video and writing stuff down, as in, ah, now I thought
Yes.
that, now I thought that.
Yeah.
It's really useful.
Yeah. I remember when I was like solving a technical problem like years ago in the Oracle forum, and I gave an answer. And later on, I had a similar problem myself, and I was then Googling and then finding the answer, and I was reading through that. And I said, "Oh wow, that's a really good answer." And then I was looking, "Oh, it was from me."
Yeah,
I wrote that. I was like, "Oh, well written."
yes.
I had to laugh so hard.
And the thing is, we don't really remember the stuff that we are thinking about right now in the future.
Right. Yeah.
We're actually new human beings in the future.
Yeah. Yeah. That is absolutely true. So this is, I mean, with re-listening to what you've said and the insights that you've gained, it also applies in the same way to rereading books, because each time you reread a valuable book, you will see, discover, and experience something new, because you have changed in the meantime, and you can resonate with a different layer of the book, or a new insight that you couldn't perceive at the time because you weren't ready at the time.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So, map of consciousness and emotions. What do you want to talk about?
Yes. Um, well, it's an interesting one because I see that the whole world is kind of stuck at the moment in a certain average. as in a little bit in, there's a lot of people actually stuck in the shame and in the guilt. So one of those lowest levels. But I think in general, maybe in a worldwide scale, we are stuck in the anger slash pride, maybe a little bit of courage, by average.
So how did you determine that? Just like looking at the news, or
It's a little bit my own filter, so my own culture,
okay,
where I'm
okay,
coming from.
okay.
Because I can imagine that there are also other people. Uh, I'm hearing the noise in the background, but I can imagine that there are also other people that are in a different state of life, that they're constantly enjoying the acceptance or the inner wisdom or the inner light or other levels of being.
Oh, you mean the noise on my side?
Yeah, I don't know.
Uh,
It's possible to
yeah,
makes it a little bit hard to think.
yeah, absolutely. So let me just switch to Wi-Fi and then I can go outside.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Um,
Are you still there? Yeah.
nice. No, nice.
Oh yeah. I can
Um,
go outside or can go here.
nice. So yeah, everything is kind of based on my own worldview.
Yeah.
Like everyone, and I can imagine, and some people are already in a state where they're only experiencing acceptance or love or wisdom, that are already in that world.
Right. And so actually I do hang out with a group of people more and more who are in a higher state of vibration. And now I also choose to be around people who are in a higher state of vibration. So I really enjoyed going to Tallinn and being at the Mind Valley University. So that was actually my deliberate plan, to go there to find new friends, basically, that I can travel with or travel to and visit and whatnot. But like being in that higher energy and seeing things from a very much more positive point of view is like so exhilarating. It makes you feel so good, because um, there are always like these two things happening at the same time: things that you don't prefer and the things that you prefer. But where do you put your attention on, right?
Yeah.
And that makes so much of a difference. Yeah. Yeah, and then the emotions are really powerful. And so I really like the idea that you're an electrical engineer and you look at the frequencies and everything. Um, and um, yeah, in order to, and we were talking about like feeling better. It's, for me, the goal is no longer so much like feeling good and blissful. That is like the higher goal, but feeling better, meaning based on the map of consciousness, just moving up on the scale. So I could, so I don't know what's completely at the bottom, but I think it's shame or depression or something like that.
Shame.
And um, actually becoming angry is already a step up.
Yeah.
Right, but many people, they go in between, like shame, anger, and then they go back to shame, and they cannot really make the next step up. And listening to Abraham Hicks was then also that it's really hard to jump more than like 4 levels in one go, right?
Yeah.
So it's about going slow, finding something that you can think about that just helps you move up a little bit on the scale.
Yeah. Yeah. What I noticed. Okay, let me say something controversial. I don't care anyway.
I love that.
I'm just speaking my truth.
Yeah.
There are some speakers, controversial speakers in the world currently, that are encouraging men who are stuck in that shame, in that guilt, in that fear, in that grief, to actually go to that anger level or go to that pride level. And using that trigger, that jumpstart, makes people angry, and especially men, especially young men,
Mm.
making young men angry as a state of being, and especially if you've been depressed for such a long time, you'll be angry for a long time. And that's kind of the stuff that at least I am seeing in my world a lot of the time, where there are a lot of angry men. Summer.
Angry about what?
Everything about the world, about politics, about the BS, all of the everything you can think about. But they're just internally so angry. Until they get a little bit more pride, as in, look at me, look at me, look at me. And then they go to that courage level. And then they go to that neutrality level.
Okay.
So actively going through those stages is helpful.
Mm.
But the speaker where I'm talking about is Andrew Tate.
Mm.
He is quite controversial in the mainstream media.
Sure. I
Because
understand why.
he's making men angry.
No, not necessarily. I perceive him differently. Uh, I perceive he has a great degree of ethics, but you have to. I mean, like strong in a way that you also respect other people and take care of other people. But first of all, you have to take care of yourself, and you have to become somebody that other people can uh, look up to, right? But first, you have to respect yourself, and you have to do things that are hard. Um, but yeah,
Yeah, and I think that's the connection to that um, desire. So the first thing is, what do you actually desire? So focusing on what do I desire in the world.
right,
That would be a positive, especially if you're into the shame points, as in, no, what do I desire? And then going into that angerness and then into that pride will make you go into that switch, as in focusing on me, 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 until that level of
right,
200 of courage. Then it's
right,
like, no, now I'm going to stand up for others.
right. Yeah, yeah,
And then you're growing from that point. And that's also the switch, what David Hawkins is talking about the force, so that's below the 200, and the power.
okay. Yeah, still
Yeah,
need to read that book. Yeah,
yeah, it's really worth it, and it explained a lot of stuff for me internally, as in where I was coming from the past year
right.
or the past 30 years, to be honest. Where I was so stuck in those lower levels. Until now, I'm thinking like, now I'm in a certain point of life where I can focus on other things and on other people
Right,
instead of being fearful for myself,
right.
which I was for a very long time.
Yeah.
And I still have my moments. Sometimes stuff happens, and my
Oh
actually
yeah.
body actually responds, as in, I
We
feel
we
it
all
internally.
we all have that, and the ones saying they don't, they lie.
Well, I truly think that's possible to actually outgrow that part as well.
Yes, that is in an ideal scenario. I personally believe the people who have a good grip on that have dealt with certain things from the past, but also have learned to cope with these things and manage them, like certain anxieties and whatnot. I mean, we're often triggered by things that somebody says or something happens. These emotions come up, and then you might find a way of managing that, being like functionally defective in a way that you can cope with that, right? It doesn't. I mean, it's still valuable, but they also feel that, and
Yeah,
therefore I'm saying it's completely normal to experience it.
yeah. Because I've been in the Mind Valley community now as well for almost a year now already, like 10 months, 11 months. Um, and I actually noticed that there are a lot of people actually there in that higher state of being. And the stuff
Okay.
where I'm worrying about, they're like, no, that's fine. No, that's fine. They
Okay.
really don't see it at all. They don't experience the downside or the negative response on that because
Mm,
they literally don't see it.
okay.
And that's actually true because if you look at a certain thing, then the thing actually changes. Or at least, yeah, if you look at a certain thing in a certain way, then the thing actually changes.
Can you explain the first part that they don't see certain things? Do you have an example for that? Like,
Um, for example, here in Tallinn, a lot of buildings were actually cluttered by graffiti, and there's
okay.
quite a lot of um, poverty and buildings that are not really being well taken care of.
Okay.
And you could focus on that point as in, look at how dirty that is, look at how bad that's maintained, look at how
Right.
poor that people are here. You can look at it in a negative way, but you can also just focus on what is the beauty. Oh, amazing, the bolts are doing great. We have that amazing building the whole time. Looks amazing, the people are great, even though they're kind of stubborn, but they're like, yeah, but they're great. And
Yeah.
focusing on those positives, if
Right.
that's truly your mindset all of the time, then you're not actually seeing those buildings anymore.
Okay. I get that. Well, actually, that was my perception as well. I uh, did not notice these things that you were describing. So I was just focusing on the good things. I mean, it's like still that when we're talking about risks or things that I don't prefer, I'm still seeing them. If that is something that might be dangerous for me, not focus on it, and I will not give it my attention because I will create these things in my life if I give it more attention. So I deliberately choose not to look there,
Yes.
right? I still notice that they exist, but I willfully ignore um, in a sense that I don't want to put attention on that
Yeah.
and therefore not attracting more of that into my life. But that's different from like closing my eyes and I don't see the dangers. That is completely different. I'm aware of the things that are going on, but I choose deliberately not to focus on it.
Yeah. Yeah. And having that distinction is already a massive one. Seeing
Yeah, yeah,
that difference.
yeah.
Because this is something that really isn't taught to me personally. I was a very negative focused
Mm,
individual. Only seeing the crazy stuff that's actually happening all over
right.
the place and all over the world and focusing on this is crap, this is crap, this is crap.
Mm,
And now it's like, but let's reframe that and the world is actually getting better because of it.
yeah.
And that's a massive thing that actually changes.
Yeah, it's so wonderful. I mean, I do it now so deliberately that almost only good things happen in my life, whatever it is, because I can see the good side on it. And the more I focus on these good interpretations, but give more attention to the things that are good in my environment, and even like a green light, something stupid like that, but the more I focus on that, the more things come into my life that I can be grateful for, and therefore my life is much more enjoyable. um, just by having a different focus, and
Yeah.
that is so cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and there is something called in that power versus force. For example, physical things are consists out of energy, out of vibration of the cells. And the behavior of a cell physically actually changes when we look at it.
Right.
So the observer effect actually makes this object move in a different way if I look at it with a certain intention. So if you have that situation about traffic lights, and as in you see yourself having that cruise with only green lights and no problem whatsoever, everything is great, everything is amazing, constantly, then actually the world kind of changes so that you use that path in exactly that moment with exactly the speed you're going to
Right.
change the whole world behind you.
Right.
It's so magnificent.
Yeah.
It's still something that I'm like, yeah, but is that really true?
Yes, it is. There have been experiments like with, I think they did it with chickens. Chickens, when they had like, what was it? They had like this random number generator. And so they would have heat lamps where the chickens were gathered. And then they would, I think, like switch randomly from one to the other. But then at a certain point, when too many chickens gathered around a certain one, then they would actually influence how often it would switch and to which one. I don't know exactly, but it was like even like with random number generators, they could be changed with the intention. And
And then
that was,
is that the attention of the chicken or of the researchers?
I don't know exactly. I have to look it up again. But it was I cannot tell exactly. I will look it up and tell you later. But it's from what I've read, it's definitely true that with our intention, we can change all these outcomes, like with the duality of light and particle, right? The topic about experiment. That's the same thing. Um, and actually, for me, it was interesting when you said, well, if you have that image of always having like green lights, so that is like beforehand, you could envision that. And actually, I find that more exhausting and difficult to do. On the other hand, you can do it like after the fact. Once you have one green light and you notice that and you celebrate that and be grateful for having that green light, that will put that also into motion. And that is actually like the best way how to teach your kids in a sense that when they do something wrong, don't punish them, ignore them. And when they do something good, applaud them for doing that good, right? So
Yeah,
you give attention to the good behavior, right? And so by then amplifying all the things that you prefer in your life and giving that a lot of attention, that will put forth in motion to attract more of that. Because then it's also like easy because you're in the moment to feel gratitude, and that is also very strong and powerful.
yeah,
Just by I like that, I don't like that. Oh, that's good, right? And then go deep into the emotion of gratitude.
yeah.
That's powerful.
Yeah, it's amazing how the world works.
Yes, and we are being taught otherwise, that you have to put in a lot of effort and you have to fight, but actually that makes it more harder and complicated. If we can attune to the power that create worlds, we can just leverage that by um, getting into the right vibration of the things we desire, and then they fall into place. And we will still have to do things, but that will be inspired action because your gut feeling tells you that is now the right thing to do.
Yes.
Yeah. And then you
Yeah.
actually enjoy the work. And
Yeah,
it's
because
so
then it's not really work anymore. Then it's playing.
exactly. And this is where people get it wrong. So many successful people, they do work a lot, and people attribute their success to the work they put in, but the work is actually an after fact, a consequence of aligning with your desire, and then you just enjoy doing the work so much that they don't want to stop, right?
Yes. Because for example, this conversation right now, it doesn't feel like work. It's like having a conversation and just.
Yeah,
But what if we actually upload this afterwards and someone kind of picks it up and gets value from it and says, "Ha, Dietmar, let me work together with you in a month.
sure.
Let's make something amazing."
Yeah,
Then this session isn't really work, but it created so much value in the future
yes,
without us actually thinking about it if it happens yes or no.
right. Yeah,
Because it doesn't really matter. The result doesn't really matter.
right, right. Yeah,
And being in that state all of the time where the
this
work
thing is so
doesn't really
cool.
matter,
This is
that's
so
life.
cool.
That
Yeah,
is
yeah,
constantly just
yeah.
enjoying reading your books, enjoying your coffee.
Yeah,
And that's the goal, I think.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I'm more and more often in exactly that state. Yeah, I am.
Yeah, me too. And especially when I'm with people who are also in a similar level. I'm
Yeah,
not that for the last month. I wasn't that, well, at least not alone in my hotel room. But in the
right.
ideal situation, I kind of want to have that family around me and those people and those businesses around me where I can actually have those interactions in a daily basis.
Well, from my perspective, it doesn't even have to be on a daily basis, but for me, like the sweet spot is at least a week. I need a very good conversation and actually also like a physical interaction with somebody. I can get by with a few Zoom calls per week and I'm just by myself, but I do need that physical interaction. And therefore, um, I can create that environment or make sure that I have this kind of environment. And therefore, since I'm also like you traveling all around the world, I need to deal and find a solution for my social context. And therefore, I now go to places where I already have friends that I like, right?
Yeah,
So that at least once per week I can have a nice drink or a meal together, or we do something interesting or sightseeing or whatnot, right? But people that I already know and that I like. I can always make new friends there as well, but to have that, I know I will like the situation with the people and feel good about that. We laugh and we have fun and we have a deep conversation. That is really key. So you can actually construct that and make sure that you only go to places or predominantly where you already know.
yeah, correct. Do you go to Mind Valley meetups sometimes?
No, but yesterday I've talked with Rena, whom I also met at MVU in Tallinn, and she was talking about a virtual meetup that you had with the Californian people. Um, but there are also like actual local ones. I will have a look into that. Yeah, to do the
Nice.
meetups. Do you go there?
Yeah, but now last month I didn't do. Well, no, that's not true. Yeah, I go to a lot of meetups.
Oh,
I
cool.
did two of them here in Tallinn, and then of course during Mind Valley U, and then when I was back in Kleve, I did two. Yeah,
Oh,
and
cool.
then in the Netherlands, I also did a couple. It's a great way to actually experience the people who are really interested in that whole self-development part and
Right,
being open for the spiritual, because
right.
that's a massive one for me. Um, yeah, and just go to events. Uh, Are you going to the biohacking, by the way, in Amsterdam?
No,
The,
what is
four,
that?
the 14th and the 15th of October. They have a biohacking conference where they teach people basically how to hack your own biology. Makes sense?
14th and 15th.
Yeah.
I
And
would have to see. Yeah.
most probably there I already know there will be so many Mind Valley members there, but also just new kind of personnel, new kind of people, and it will be fun to actually experience that.
I lost you. Could you repeat the last sentence? That
There will be a lot of Mind Valley people there, and also
okay.
other people who might resonate with you as a
Ah,
personal
okay.
level.
Okay. Yeah, I will have a look at that. So I guess I'm still in Hungary at the time, but I also go to a training the week before to Munich. So I'm in the area, so to speak. I will see.
In the area, yeah.
But
Well,
you will go there?
yeah, I haven't booked my ticket yet, but I'll do that when I'm in Malaga next week.
Ah, okay.
So just yeah, and then I'll just spend a month or something in Amsterdam, and then taking care of my stuff in the Netherlands again.
Right.
Because I kind of miss the Netherlands,
Okay.
so that's good.
Cool. Yeah.
And I'm thinking about just renting a place there, a decent apartment, and
Nice.
then traveling from that point on. So then I'm close to Amsterdam, close to the airport,
Nice.
and that's a little bit the goal, the vision.
Yeah.
And if you
I
have
don't.
enough money or at least income, then you can actually start doing stuff like that. Something that I really haven't
Yeah.
done in the past.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm doing that as well. So I'm still trying to figure out what's the optimal way to travel and how long should I stay in the place. I mean, right now I'm looking at Budapest. Actually, I'm definitely going there for 6 weeks, and it's very cheap there compared to German or Dutch standards.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
and
Budapest is a great place to be.
oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's a nice thing. When you are so free to travel everywhere, then you can use geo arbitrage and just stay in countries where it's just cheaper.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
true.
Mhm.
Is something that you wanted to end the conversation with, because we already spoke quite
Yes.
some time.
So what did we have as topics? Was this still a topic we had open?
The conscious mapping, the letting go techniques,
Okay.
universal frequencies.
Yeah, tell me something about that. Um, what did you exactly mean by that? The universe, you mean like the, what is it, 8.7 or 8 hertz, the overall frequency of Earth, or what are you
Uh,
talking about?
Not specifically, but it's the
Human resonance.
oh yeah, I don't know the details about that. Um, but it's the understanding of that everything is consisting out of frequencies in some way or form,
Okay.
including our emotions itself.
Okay.
And even that our emotions can have impact to other people. So our frequencies can impact other people.
Okay.
And making that something universal. So yeah, I had some thoughts, but not anything specific about going into
Okay.
that right now within those last 2 minutes.
Yeah. Okay. Mm, okay. Yeah.
But
Then I understand. Yeah.
it's a quite fun topic to think about, as in, do we have something like universal frequencies, or is everyone kind of vibrating on their own level, on their own level plane, and then interacting that with other people and influencing them, and them influencing you? So is a difficult topic to explore.
Yeah,
I like it.
but it's fun. I mean, this is like the fundamental of our existence, right?
Yeah,
And so many things we have to like relearn or forget what we've been told, that there is a much deeper truth, and
yeah,
there are still so many things to explore. And I think like frequencies and vibration is like the key component to understanding of that.
yeah. I love
So,
to go to a seminar somewhere where they actually explain this whole concept.
huh.
There must be something. So we're recording this right now. If anyone knows, please do it in the comments. It will be fun. Might be just as easy as some of the teachings of Bob Proctor or David
Sure.
Hawkins. Or there must be people who are actually talking about this stuff
Well, no,
in a deep
definitely.
way.
I mean, this is like always a part of spiritual practices with different gurus, but also like Joe Dispenza. I definitely want to go to one of his seminars.
Yeah, same.
Um, yeah,
Great. Well, thank you very
wonderful.
much.
Thank you.
Then I'm going to stop the recording for a second.